All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel, a Buffalo Plus exclusive. The entire team here in person at training camp. The Bills returning to Fisher to start off training camp this summer once again. Before we get into our video, please be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Let's get into it because Josh Allen out here. Mike, the fans out here today, the players, the stars here at this camp. What'd you make of just day one?
It's different than it's been. Look, even back when they first came to camp here, we're talking about the Drew Bledsoe time, and then eventually when you had Doug Flutie, it was all new and it was different. The expectations were about here. 3 years without the Bills at Fisher, and they come back, and you can't even fit it in the camera how high the expectations are. So fans, as one fan said to me today, we're really paying attention to what's going on the field, because they know how good this team is. And, everybody knows how good Josh Allen is. So it's heightened. It's more like a championship-level team now that is in Rochester during this time, and fans get them up close.
I always loved how much, Sean McDermott was asked once again today. The Bills are Super Bowl favorites currently heading into the season. What do you make of that? And he's just like, yeah, it's just the names on paper right now. And I obviously would have to agree with that. There's so much work that goes in, and you hear the cliche in the league, like every season, every team is its own year, that type of thing. But Dan, I mean, you can't run away from the expectations. How do you think this team does balance them, though, considering this is day one?
Well, they use a couple of other cliches. They say nobody has higher expectations than us in the building. And
I actually believe that.
Well, hold on.
Obviously, that's always happens.
The fans' expectation is to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't think you can have higher expectations than that.
Well, that specific question was asked to Josh Allen, and I think to Josh Allen, he says no one has higher expectations than himself.
They're all equal.
And I believe that.
Yeah, and Von Miller also talks about that these expectations are a privilege, that this pressure is a privilege. And I think having somebody like that, like those words come out very hollow unless you're Von Miller and a guy that has won 2 Super Bowls coming off a Super Bowl, where he said, this is why I came here. I didn't come here just to get a couple more sacks and ride off and came here to win another Super Bowl. So I think that aura, that energy, and you talk about how things are different, I think that's a good thing for this team. As we talked about, there's so much continuity. There's so many things. I think coming here, where a lot of the core of the team had never been to St. John Fisher before, this is a fresh start. We talked about how their messages can become stale. Training camp, you're constantly in Buffalo. It's all the time. Get out of your element a little bit. Come out, stay in dorms, enjoy the turkey burgers, handle the toilet paper, and just move on.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk a little bit, too, because Jordan Poyer, obviously here today, as well as his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. We know that Poyer is here. He says his mind is on football. Never a doubt that he wanted to come to camp. How do you take of where we're at now, where the Bills want to be, where Poyer wants to be, and what's happening in the interim?
I think they've had conversations. And look, Rosenhaus is here. He's not here because we did have lovely weather today. He's here to talk about Jordan Poyer and to get it done. I'm not 100% sure what getting it done means. Brandon Beane he doesn't negotiate in the media, and he's not going to be. I talked to Drew Rosenhaus briefly. Of course, he's not going to comment. But Drew Rosenhaus loves to comment. If that tells me something, it's he knows that doesn't work with the Buffalo Bills. And I believe that means it's probably closer to something.
I agree.
Because I think they should do something for Jordan Poyer. Doesn't mean they extend him for 5 years. He needs more money in his pocket. He's earned that. How do they make it work with the non-existent salary cap, Dan?
Yeah, salary cap isn't real, so it doesn't matter. You can just pay anybody. But I thought it was interesting. One of the questions that Jordan Poyer was asked was there any thought about you not showing up to training camp? And Poyer's words were very poignant. He said, not in my head. I want to be here. That's how I feel. I want to be here. Those are the direct quote. Very telling that maybe Drew Rosenhaus was saying, don't show up to camp. And for all the people that have said, Jordan Poyer, be a team player. He is a team player. He has done everything and then some. So I agree. I think there is something done. I think there's starting to be some smoke about getting some kind of deal done. Like you said, Mike, Drew Rosenhaus doesn't show up he's not showing up here for a garbage plate. Like he's showing up here to get something done.
He might be here for a turkey burger.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yes.
I felt like today, though, Jordan Poyer was very insightful.
Yeah.
Sometimes, during the season, it's kind of a different mode, but with it being
combative. He can be a little combative.
I think he even mentioned this, and why he wants a new contract is because he's been an underdog his entire life, and he's 31 now, he wants to get paid like the guy, and he says he doesn't necessarily feel like in Buffalo he's an undervalued player, but he mentioned the fact that the NFL is obviously a shorter time in terms of it doesn't last forever. But I was impressed by him, and he did talk about that Chiefs game.
Yeah, first of all, I love the chip on his shoulder. It's massive, and I think that helps him.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's been doubted. He's not kidding when he says that. I mean, when he came to the Bills, he was a nobody. I mean, he was cut, he had been injured, whatever. He has built himself into this player.
All-pro.
It's now the yin and the yang with the team on his age. I'll say this. They haven't found a way to replace either one of these guys.
Correct.
So in the short term, they need to do something. But just because a guy has earned more money doesn't mean a team's got to give it to him. But I think the position the Bills are in, where they are, and they know they need Poyer and Hyde. Being Poyer and Hyde this year because of where they are, they will get something done. But you're right. He feels that way. And I asked him about the Chiefs game because we haven't really had a chance since the game to talk to him about it. Yeah. And I love the fact that he says he's watched it. He said the NFL films when they go in the sidelines. Tyreek Hill busting his chops on a podcast about the 13 seconds. On the podcast. Yeah. Twice a year they get Tyreek Hill now. You know, maybe beyond that. You never know. I love all that for Jordan Poyer. I think an angry, ticked off Jordan Poyer, I believe he used a different letter than a T, and you know how you'd be when he's being mad. Yeah. I think that's a great thing for this team.
No, I completely agree. And I think it shows good faith on both sides of the fact that Poyer wanted to show up. He wanted to be there. He wanted Drew Rosenhaus's agent here. We've talked a lot about turkey burgers, and I feel like we haven't gotten into the turkey burger discussion that we had. No one was prepared to learn about turkey burgers today.
We talked about, Mike, you went around and talked to a bunch of fans. If you saw us, you know, it was great, like Buffalo Plus, all this stuff. But then we started to see, like, what it's like for the players. And some of them, like I said, Von Miller laughed and he goes, this is where I was at Texas A&M. Like, I haven't been in a dorm room since college. He goes, I'm 33 now. Like, the beds are different. The toilet paper is different. And so those were a negative. But Josh Allen said he couldn't wait to come back here because of the turkey burgers with some jalapenos on them. And Poyer echoed the same sentiments.
Poyer said, I've been waiting 3 years for the turkey burgers at St. John Fisher.
Direct quote.
Yeah, 3 years he's been waiting for it. By the way, whatever Von Miller's talking about, you know, even Amazon.com, like, have it shipped here. You can have any toilet paper you want. Yeah. Let's make sure. Von Miller. By the way, I wanted to go back, not to interrupt the turkey burger, on Von Miller. Talk about expectations. I want to lead the league in sacks and be Defensive Player of the Year is basically what he said.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's done it, so when he says it, it's not like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I've already done these things, and I want to do it again. So get the man the right toilet paper, get him back on the field, get the players their turkey burgers, and everybody will be happy.
Do anybody have one quick takeaway? We've talked off the field, all that stuff. Anything that you guys saw today that stood out to you, one thing or another?
Josh Allen has a plan with autographs. So if you're coming out here, he's so good. I followed him for a little while. He seeks out the kids. Always to the kids. He has so many people that want his autograph. Yep. You might get a little fist bump from him. I'm not saying he won't sign for adults. But his plan is he's got to move through it quickly. That man is prepared. He's probably studied film of other players. I don't know. Because he buzzed through that crowd. Kid, fist bump, another kid, picture with a kid, moves on.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He
well
had
planned.
the Sharpie at the podium with him when he was doing his post-practice presser.
If you want a photo with him, even your kid, your camera better be ready. Not me with you. Well, we've had this incident before. Well, I wasn't quite ready to take the picture for Jenna. She's never let me live it down. If you're the dad,
old man.
If you're the dad with the camera and your kid's there, be ready.
Grandpa
Be
Catalana.
Ready. No kidding.
All right. What about you? Your takeaway?
O.J. Howard is a massive human being.
Say that,
I think that was the one thing that stood out. Again, he was kind of always at a distance at mini camps and OTAs. Massive, massive individual. That touched me. And I really think Isaiah McKenzie is going to have a camp that could separate him as really being that guy. They don't have a ton of flat-out burning speed on this wide receiving room.
Yeah.
That's Isaiah McKenzie. Yeah. And if he wants that slot receiver role, I think it's a big opportunity for him. I think he's always been trying to climb up and get something, take a position. I think this is the first time he's written in pencil as the slot guy and is going to have that first opportunity to take it.
And in comparison there, watch for Tavon Austin. There is a role for him as a returner on
I
this
agree.
team. And I believe he looks up to Isaiah McKenzie physically. He is really small, but he's dynamic. He has always been a dynamic player.
Yeah.
And are they in a position to say, we're going to keep that returner. We're going to keep that guy limited maybe role in the offense and be able to keep both of those guys and make them weapons. He also can run the ball in the backfield too. He's done that before.
Yeah.
So interesting to see those two guys with these giants like Dan's talking about with, the tight ends with Knox and certainly with O.J. Howard. And then Stephon Diggs somewhere in the middle.
My takeaway is just the fact that it's so great to have the Bills back here in Rochester. I mean, most of the teams in the NFL do not have their training camps away, but getting to talk to the fans, how excited they are, how, like you mentioned, they're actually paying attention because of what is expected of this team. But to have real stars, the Josh Allen, this version of Josh Allen, to have Stephon Diggs, Von Miller signing autographs, it's kind of, for a lot of fans that I talked to, it was like a pinch me moment that they got to be this close and got to experience a practice, which obviously they don't get to see during the regular season. So great to have Bills camp back here in Rochester. We'll have plenty of updates every single day from camp. From Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for joining us. Please be sure to subscribe to Buffalo Plus here on YouTube. And then check us out as well. We have the podcast. Then we also have a Twitter page at Buffalo Plus and an Instagram handle at Buffalo Plus _. I couldn't get the Buffalo Plus. Darn, I know. It's all right. No, it's fine. All right. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time on Buffalo Plus.